Tom, the horse is still breathing.
Let's kick him some more.
So here we go, diving into that fun geeky Game of Thrones fan topic of who can beat the mountain one final time. For now. After a fun read through the comments of the first 2 vids, we figured we could squeeze in 5 more we think can and 5 more we think can't, and why. But we're definitely done after this one.
For now.
So feel free to let us know any other characters or fictional franchises you want us to have a bosh at. We love conversations like this, but we're pretty sure we've tapped this mountain thing dry. For now. Be sure to check out our previous entries and let us know in the comments your thoughts one final time. Thanks for the support so far, guys, and while you're at it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Help us keep this channel growing. Same rules as always, this is a Westerosi trial by combat scenario. Fighters pick their weapons and armor, and using the environment is more than fair game. So let's kick this off with our first fighter who can. Number 1, Daario Naharis. A champion of the fighting pits and possessing of almost infinite cunning, Daario is not one to mess with, even if you're the mountain. It cannot be understated just how much Daario likes being alive, and as such he has no compunctions about fighting dirty. He's also very experienced in fighting bigger opponents, at least according to himself, and knows the tactics for a smaller guy to beat a bigger guy. It'll be a long, bloody, drawn-out fight, with plenty of dirt and whatever else Daario has to hand thrown in the mountain's eyes. But we think the blue-haired rogue has got that dog in him to win, albeit unfairly.
Let me kill this man for you.
Very well.
And our first pick of fighters who can't, Grey Worm. Now, Show Grey Worm is way more badass in comparison with his book counterpart, and you'd think that because his primary skill is with the weapon Oberyn used, that would net him a win, right? Well, no. Grey Worm is a soldier, not a duelist, and there is a massive difference. The Unsullied take their inspiration from ancient Greek Spartans and the like, and fight most effectively when in a coordinated unit, presenting a phalanx of shields and spears. On his own, Grey Worm has respectable showings in single combat against civilian insurgents, mindless zombies, and demoralized nameless Lannister soldiers, but he's never fought an opponent that comes even close to the mountain's level single-handed. Add to the fact he's missing, well, we all know what.
I'm as anatomically impaired as a kendo.
And he'll be quite a bit weaker than your average biological male, which is not good when your opponent has such a strength advantage in the first place. Nope, Grey Worm would be worm food were he to try and tackle the mountain without his bros backing him up. Number 2, our second pick of fighters who can, Sir Bronn of the Blackwater, son of...
You wouldn't know him.
Show Bronn can do no wrong. Even Drogon couldn't put that dashing scoundrel down. But Book Bronn is no slouch either. He's a cut above most and pragmatic as they come when it comes to combat. What makes Bronn so dangerous is he knows how good he is, but is fully aware of his limitations, which he compensates for with a healthy dose of ruthlessness and dishonorable yet practical tactics.
You don't fight with honor.
No, he did.
Now, his refusal to fight the mountain is often a point held against him being able to triumph, but it was really more to do with self-interest. Cersei's offer was simply better than Tyrion's, and far less life-threatening.
You once said, if anyone ever asked me to sell you out, you'd double their price.
Is it 2 wives you want, or 2 castles?
If you want me to kill the mountain for you, it better be a damn big castle.
But that conversation, in the show at least, also pointed out that Bronn would have taken the fight had Tyrion made a better offer, and he knew the exact tactic to beat the mountain that Oberyn would later employ to victory. Well, almost. Now, as rightly pointed out, one mistake, and Bronn is dead. But we have faith in our favourite sellsword getting the mountain off his feet. And we just need to offer him a big enough castle. And our second pick of fighters who can't, Loras Tyrell. Now this is so much more closely run than you might think. Despite his soft, pretty boy demeanor, Loras is up there as one of the best fighters in Westeros, and is totally worthy of your respect. He also doesn't have a signature weapon like most fighters, so he may take in a weapon that's got good reach and anti-armor capabilities like a polearm, not to mention he wears full plate, which at least gives him a chance to shrug off glancing blows and take a few hits. He's got the skill and he's got the speed to keep up with the more brutish Gregor, but he is so firmly outmatched in strength, reach, and defensive capabilities that those advantages become less than equalizers, especially against the book version of the Mountain, who not only wields a greatsword, but also carries a thick oaken shield as a defense redundancy should Loras slip past the sword. His loss to Brienne in the show also doesn't help make his likelihood of winning look favorable, as Brienne's fighting style is essentially the Mountain Light edition. I wouldn't count Loras out, especially if he's smart enough to take in a weapon with some reach or anti-armor utility, but my gold dragons would most certainly be going on the mountain. A quick honourable mention, we were going to throw in his brother Garland as one who we think can, but since he's book only, we didn't want to confuse those who have only seen the show. But for our book reading watchers, we think Garland can do it, as he's essentially a better, more experienced version of Loras. Number 3, our third pick of fighters who can, the Greatjon Umber. The only guy besides his brother who can come even close to matching the mountain's size. The Greatjon Umber is speculated to be one of the physically strongest people in Westeros. Not only that, but he's a war vet who's racked up a lot of experience fighting actual warriors and not unarmed peasants. And he's earned his scars on the battlefield as well as wielding a greatsword bigger than ice, so he's got the reach covered. When it takes 8 men to subdue you when you're unarmed and plaster blind drunk, and you still kill one and wreck the rest shit on your way down, you've got to be an absolute savage in a fair fight. He's got the strength, he's got the reach, and he's one of the North's best. In our opinion, all things considered, Gregor won't be used to fighting someone who can stonewall him with his own game, and will be bashed to death by the Greatjon's big, ugly piece of steel. And our number 3 dead meat? Ramsay Bolton. Now, I've seen this addressed on a couple of forums here and there, and I will be honest, I can kind of see the logic behind the thinking. Ramsay is psychopathically intelligent and cunning. Not a genius by a long stretch, but no fool either when it comes to battle and single combat. Not to mention his show iteration is covered in plot armor so thick that it took the actual Chosen One, I will never let that go D&D, of the universe to defeat him in one-on-one combat. But here's the thing, he's noted to not actually be that great of a warrior, and relies on his fearlessness, his savagery and strength in order to win. Now, we don't know how tall Ramsay is, only that he's a bit taller than Theon. But since no special mention is made of his height, even the most generous estimations are going to put him close around the 6-foot mark. So yeah, Ramsay's fearlessness, savagery and strength are going to do jack against Gregor, who is equally savage, much stronger just by virtue of height and mass, and has an insane reach advantage. No mention is made of Ramsay possessing exceptional or even competent agility either, which is a must-have to play the long game. So even if Ramsay has the cunning to employ Oberyn and Bronn's tactic, he doesn't have the physicality to pull it off. For once, I'm actually cheering for the mountain. Squash that skin-flaying freak, Greg! Now our 4th pick of fighters who can, Wun Wun the Giant. Too many people commented this for us not to include it. Is it cheating? Yes. Yes, it is. Do we care? No. No, we do not. If only for the immensely satisfying image our imagination conjures at seeing the mountain getting an extremely poetic taste of his own medicine as the little person for a change, as Wun Wun flattens him with nothing but a tree trunk. Now, to be fair, if Gregor fought smart, he might actually be able to take on Wun Wun, who doesn't wear armor to protect his squishy bits. But odds of Wun Wun not just dropping his tree trunk and grabbing the slight hill and crushing him to a pulp when he tries to start dancing around are slim to none. Another honorable mention goes to the Night King, who was also spammed to death in our comment sections. Unless Gregor's packing some Valyrian steel or obsidian, there is obviously nothing he can do against the King of the Undead, because, well, it's obvious. Let's throw in Drogon here for good measure, Tom. Got to let our commenters know we appreciate them. Back to the land of serious suggestions. Our 4th pick of fighters who can't is, Syrio Forel. Look, Syrio is a goddamn badass.
And you will be speaking to me with more respect.
Most characters wouldn't be able to fend off multiple opponents with a real sword, let alone a wooden practice one. And I really don't want to put him on this list because, like Arya, he's a personal favorite of mine. But much like our views regarding Khal Drogo, this is a matter of incompatible toolkits rather than a testament of skill. We always work under the assumption with these what-if trial by combats that the character will take in their signature weapon if it's been disclosed. Water dancing swords haven't been described beyond the fact they are more slender than longswords with a more favourable thrusting point. Hopefully about to get my Hema guys in here to back me up, but that could be, at best, a rapier and at worst, a small sword. both of which are specialized dueling weapons, sure, but they are intended for unarmored dueling and aren't particularly good against plate armor, let alone armor as thick as Gregor's. Syrio might be able to dance around, he might be able to close the gap, but he's going to struggle to finish Gregor off with a kill shot. Getting a sword into a hostile opponent's armor joints, armpits, neck, or eye slit is so much harder than most of you realize, especially if your opponent is fighting back and you can't wrestle them to the ground, even for a master swordsman. And like any lightly or unarmored agility fighter, one mistake and he's dead, and I just don't see him having skill comparable to Oberyn, who is in contention for the greatest overall fighter alive at the time period.
Have they told you who I am?
Some dead man.
Or that pragmatic ruthlessness and disregard for honor that Bronn possesses. Sorry, Syrio. I still think you're badass, though.
And there is only one thing we say to death. Not today.
And our fifth and final pick for those who can't, Tormund Giantsbane. His name may make you think otherwise, and he's another personal favorite of mine. But Jon's best bro hasn't got it in him to claim the name Tormund Giantsbane. He's bloody strong, and while he may be a touch rough around the edges with a wild, chaotic, almost bestial approach to combat, Tormund is an incredibly skilled fighter in a keep it simple kind of way. He's also got an incredible warrior's spirit, and his determination to keep going even when he feels he's lost is admirable, and puts him firmly in the camp of one of the wildlings' best. But none of that can help him versus Gregor. Tormund is Gregor's perfect victim. Both his weapons and fighting style play right into the Mountain's hands. Tormund is a wild brawler of a fighter who wields pretty short weapons, and from what we see, he seems to favor rushing in with a high quantity over quality of savagely fast cuts and thrusts, which would do nothing but glance off the Mountain's armor. With no armor of his own, he's also one swing of the Mountain's greatsword away from death, and doesn't seem to have the tactical head on him to play the long game. He'd rush in and get chopped in half almost immediately. I love the bastard, but he's probably got the smallest chance of the lot at overcoming the monster. And that's hang on, Tom, we've forgotten our final fighter who can. I believe we were going to sprinkle in some hot D to be topical, weren't we? So, our final pick and safest bet, it's Sir Criston Cole. Nope, I can't do it. I am not putting that whiny simp on this list, no matter how skilled he is. Plus, I think there's someone far more worthy who we're forgetting, Tom. A knight of great repute with legendary skill, the courage of a lion, and the most noble heart who could cut through the mountain like carving a cake. Oh, that's right. Barristan the Bold. Now, this was only really suggested by
Literally everyone.
You mean everyone?
He may not be as spry as he was in his youth, but Barristan Selmy is still debatably the greatest knight alive during the Game of Thrones, with only the legendary Arthur Dayne and a two-handed Jaime being considered his equals when it comes to skill. While not optimum, he also possesses solid equipment for facing down Gregor, with Selmy's full plate as the MVP, seeing as how it's the only way you're going to even stand a chance to survive a blow from the Mountain, though admittedly he could do with a longer sword. But unlike other subpar anti-armor weapons we've mentioned in this series, like Drogo's Arak and Arya's Needle, while not optimal, longswords can be effective against armor if in the hands of someone who knows how to leverage it. And well, it's in the best possible hands in this case. The only reason Gregor might last a few minutes is due to Barristan getting on in years, though as we see in both the books and the show, his reflexes are still sharp as ever. Combined with his patience, cunning, and wisdom, Barristan may not have the ideal tools like Bobby B, may not have the ideal tactic like Oberyn, but he has the ideal fighting spirit to bring low this beast. It would only be a matter of time, but the one who disgraces the title of knight would be brought low by the one who is a paragon of it. As the old adage goes, beware the old man in a profession where men usually die young.
I'm glad we never met on the field, Sir Barristan. As is my wife. I don't think the widow's life would suit her.
Before we wrap up, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to you guys for being a player in this 3-part series of ours. We've really enjoyed having the discussions with you over the course of it. I'm sure my good pal Tom will put a poll up to help us pick the next character to pit against their contemporaries, and we can have a whole new discussion about a whole new character, hopefully. So thank you, we really appreciate the support, the agreement, the disagreement, and just engagement as a whole, really. Thanks, guys. And that's our take. What did we get right, what did we miss, and what did we get wrong? I'm sure you'll have no problem telling us. Thanks for watching.